Mr. Chairperson, honorable judges, worthy opponents, ladies and gentlemen. I believe that the Charter, while it is very helpful to the Canadian public, is also an outdated and inaccessible document that is ready to be changed. I will begin with these two contentions. We have the ability to control who is in the government and what they do through our voting system. But because the act of challenging the Charter is so financially grievous, many are unable to have their voices heard. Secondly, parts of the population simply aren't represented in the Charter, and as it is a document stating our universal rights and freedoms as members of Canada, that needs to change. If I wanted to challenge the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, I would have to go through months of lawyers and costly expenses, which, as a teenager with middle-class parents living in Vancouver, one of the most expensive cities in the world, would wildly disrupt our day-to-day lives. We would simply be unable to afford it. Toronto lawyer Doug Elliott states in an article for The Star, quote, "These cases cost millions of dollars, millions, because governments fight them tooth and nail. Forget about legal aid. In most cases, you're not going to get it." There used to be something called the Court Challenges Program, which was supposed to fund groups challenging the Charter on language and equality rights. It was provided under $3 million a year by the government, which is not expensive for a federal program. However, it was eventually cut as the government no longer wanted those who wanted to fund something that challenged its own legislation. Now, there's little to no support for those whose rights were violated. The Charter is entirely powered by the government, and the public has little say in it. This is not the way that things should be. I think that if we provided more funding for groups looking to prove rights violations, our voices would be heard in government, and Canada would be restored to the truthful democracy it was meant to be. Parts of the Charter are out of date with society today, and that needs to change to give an accurate representation of the Canadian population. A document containing the universal rights and freedoms of our people should not leave anybody out, but right now it does. When it was created, this would have been acceptable, but now our minds as a society have become more open. For example, Section 28 of the Charter states that, quote, "rights will be guaranteed equally to both sexes." Now, we know that sex is only representative of your physical characteristics, and gender is the way that you feel and the way that you express yourself. This section of the Charter is completely blocking out an entire population that does not adhere to the gender binary. Section 15, labeled Equality Before and Under Law and Equal Protection and Benefit of Law, states that every individual has the right not to be discriminated against, quote, "based on race, national or ethnic origin, color, religion, sex, age or mental or physical disability," end quote. This list does not include sexuality. Many people are severely oppressed when their sexualities differ from those around them, and they have virtually no representation under the Charter. It's honestly shocking to me that these changes haven't been made sooner. As an openly queer woman, it's scary to know that I'm entering into a world in which I am not fully protected by my government. To conclude, the Charter is, in my opinion, a deeply flawed and controversial document. We, as the people of Canada, need more say in the goings-on of government. Average people are unable to challenge the Charter when their rights are violated. We need more financial support from the government so we can have our voices heard. On top of that, the Charter is not an inclusive government and does not represent the diverse people of Canada. It is for these reasons that I believe that the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms should be reviewed and checked for the aforementioned problems, and that legal aid should be provided for those who wish to challenge it.